Welcome to Around and Around, the OCD Circle. My name is Elizabeth, and I have been living with obsessive-compulsive disorder for over 60 years. I am not a therapist or a member of the medical community. I am just an ordinary person like yourself who will be sharing my thoughts and experiences with you, with the hope that you will feel less alone. If you don't have OCD, I hope you will learn some information that will help you understand this disorder better. Some of the topics I will be covering may be triggering for you as a listener. If so, I apologize in advance. Since I don't know what your triggers are, please refer to the episode summary in the show notes before listening to each episode. If at any time you feel like hurting yourself or ending your life, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 if you are in the United States. It is open 24 hours a day, and you will be connected with the nearest crisis center to receive immediate counseling and local mental health referrals. Now, on to today's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to Around and Around the OCD Circle podcast. I want to remind you that this podcast now has a Facebook page where we can discuss OCD with others who live with this disorder daily. The link is below in the show notes, along with my other social media links. Today's show is part 2 of my conversation with Jaimi McPeek, where we continue diving into the topic of self-love. If you haven't listened to part 1, I invite you to do so. You may remember Jaimi in previous episodes, where she shared her OCD story. She is the founder of the mental health awareness movement, Flip of a Coin. During today's conversation, Jaimi and I discuss the following self-love topics: mindfulness and self-love, self-care rituals, celebrating achievements and progress, and healthy relationships with others. Jaimi also explains Stoicism, the idea of letting go of things you cannot control. For more information on Stoicism, please check out the book The Daily Stoic and The Daily Stoic Journal by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Both are available on Amazon. And also check out the podcast The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, available wherever you get your podcast. Now on to today's show. Mindfulness and self-love is the next topic. Incorporating mindfulness practices for self-awareness, the connection between mindfulness and self-acceptance.
So there's a really good picture that I wish I could like put on a screen right now and show. I know this is an audio podcast, but I wish I could show this. I'm gonna try to describe it as well as I can.
We could put it as the thumbnail.
Ooh, okay.
The show.
I'm gonna have to send that to you now.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a picture of a guy with his dog, and I believe they're on top of a hill and they're overlooking the area that they're in. And the guy, there's a thought bubble above his head, and it's like a million different things. It's work, responsibilities, to-do list, yada, yada, yada. It's like a bunch of things in his thought bubble. Over the dog's thought bubble is just the view of this beautiful area they're in. And at the top of the picture, it says mindfulness above the dog versus mindfulness. Your mind being full of stuff rather than actually being mindful. And that is one of the best pictures I've seen to really differentiate what mindfulness really means. And I will absolutely send that to you. But mindfulness is just that. It's learning how to be in the present moment and being there for yourself, being there for others. And I guess this is kind of jumping the gun a little bit into the next bullet point, which is creating like a self-care routine. But this ties into mindfulness and really ties into everything we've spoken about so far. I'm a huge advocate for Stoicism. And I don't remember if I mentioned this in our previous chat.
No.
Okay. So Stoicism is a philosophy that was created mainly by three genius minds. This thousands of years, about 2,000 years ago or so. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. And they were such brilliant minds. And basically what it is, Stoicism, is it's the philosophy of, it sounds very simple, but it's not, of letting go what is not in your control and focusing only on what is in your control. And really, when you think about it, the only thing that you have control over are your thoughts, your perspective, your attitude. And some may argue, well, I have control over my body, but do you though? Because any day you can get into a car accident, you can become you can fall, you can become paralyzed, you could get diagnosed with a terminal illness. So as much as we like to think that we have control over our bodies, again, external events can happen and then we lose that. So really at the end of the day, all that you have control over is your attitude, your thoughts, your perspectives. And anything else that you can't control is not worth taking time up and being anxious about and worrying about and etc. So that's really the basis of Stoicism. And like I said, it's a very easy concept, but very hard to implement. Very, very hard. But I think that really sums up mindfulness as well as you can. And it's that letting go of what is not in your control, not dwelling on, am I going to get this job? Am I going to, whatever your external circumstances, and focusing on at the task at hand in front of you, focusing each day one at a time, and focusing on the things that are in your control. What can you actively do right now that's in your control that will, better yourself, better your mind, better your body? Because we never know what's going to happen. And I think that's the best way to practice mindfulness, is to start embracing that attitude. And it's a hard attitude to embrace, but
it is, because I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I can already see comments coming. People are typing away. You were talking about controlling our thoughts. Most people would say, I can't control my thoughts. OCD controls my thoughts.
exactly. And I'm glad I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, because I had the exact same reaction when I first started practicing Stoicism, was that I can't really control my thoughts. That's what OCD is. But you can you can control your perspective. You can control your outlook. You can control how you do. Again, it takes work. This comes into self-work and everything, and coping mechanisms, but you can control how you deal with those thoughts, those unwanted thoughts that you can't control. You can control how you deal with them and how you let them affect you. And again, this is coming from especially people who listened to my last episode. I was a suicidal person for most of my childhood, because I couldn't control my thoughts. It took me a very long time to get to this place where I am able to say, yes, you do have control over your thoughts. And again, if you would have asked this to me 3 years ago, I would have said there's no effing way that I have control over my thoughts. So again, it's a journey, it's a learning curve. It's like anything else within your body. It's almost like a muscle memory. You have to really train your brain. You really do. And it's not easy. And again, you may not have control over the intrusive thoughts, the impulsive thoughts, the ones that are just in the back of your head saying this and that and this and that, but you do have control at the end of the day on how you let those thoughts dictate your life. And again, that's where the Stoicism comes in and the mindfulness comes in. And there is a huge connection between that and self-acceptance for obvious reasons. You're accepting that, again, for me, after I tried to take my life, and that was like the final straw. It was like, okay, I cannot change how my brain is wired. I cannot go in and mess with the chemicals in my brain. I can't go back in time and rewire how I was born. Like, I can't do any of that. So it's just a matter of how am I going to live my life, because I'm not going to try to take it away again. I'm grateful that happened, because I got this perspective, but that's something that's not even on the table ever again. And so how am I going to move through my life without this other part of me completely trying to tear it down? And that was where the self-acceptance came in, that I just accept that this is the cards I've been dealt. This is just how my brain works. So now it's time to make the most of it and use it to benefit me, and use it put like we said at the beginning of the episode, a positive spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why self-acceptance and mindfulness are so interconnected. And by the way, I will say a lot of the stoicism things that I've been saying. Sorry, my dog's trying to break into my room. A lot of the stoicism things that I've been saying come from a book. It's called The Daily Stoic, and it's just one passage a day, and it's for every day of the year. They even have it marked, January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way through December 31st. And it's maybe like a 5-minute read a day. And it has like a passage, it has the quote from one of the philosophers, and it has an interpretation of the quote. Because again, they were, number one, they were geniuses. And number two, this was also a long time ago. So there's an interpretation of the quote. And I got that book for Christmas of 2022. So I read it all last year, and then I just started rereading again beginning of this year.
I'm
And
curious who decided to give you that book? Who thought
my
you needed
mom,
it? Okay.
my
How did
mom,
you how did you find out about this?
the Stoic.
Stoicism.
Yeah,
Stoicism.
yeah, it was through her. She actually, ironically, my my cousin's boyfriend was the one who recommended it to my mom, because my mom had never even heard of it. And my mom, as I mentioned in the last episode, suffers from OCD, but she suffers from the contamination and the germ and tidiness part of OCD. And the pandemic really was her worst nightmare coming to life in terms of that. So she was really struggling. And my cousin's boyfriend recommended her this book, and she read it, and she told me that it changed her life. And then for Christmas, she got it for me. And I totally see what she means. I mean, this combined with the yoga, the affirmations, the meditation, everything else that I've been implementing has truly changed my life. I mean, I don't know where I would be without any of these self-care, self-help rituals. And self-care and this is jumping into the next bullet point, but
That's okay.
self-care and self-love is just as important as anything else on your to-do list. It is just like I have on my to-do list my regular things, but then I also have affirmations, yoga, read my Stoic. I have those on my to-do list too, because that's just how my brain works. But it's just as important, if not more important than the other things on your to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
Prioritizing yourself love, your self-care, because again, like we said before, if you're not loving yourself, caring for yourself, you're not going to be able to love and care for others, and you're not going to be able to be truly present and truly there if you're not there for yourself.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. Like I was
Mm-mm.
doing, a 5-minute meditation in the morning. Light a candle, do the meditation, it's over. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be an hour-long thing.
Yeah.
You know, you'll it's really neat that you can just do, something for 5 minutes, something else for affirmations for 5 minutes, meditation for
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes. It's not now, of course, like working out, that's an hour, but there are things that you can do that take very little time. You just have to
Absolutely.
put them in your planner. That's what I do. I just put them in my planner
Yeah.
and check them off, you
Yeah.
know.
That's what I do
And
too.
then after a while, you don't even have to put them in your planner. Some people don't because it just becomes so automatic
Yeah.
that you already know, well, I do this every morning in order.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of your routine.
Okay, next bullet point, celebrating achievements and progress, acknowledging and celebrating personal achievements, setting realistic goals, and tracking progress.
Okay. One of the other affirmations I like to say is I choose to celebrate the wins, both big and small.
Mhm.
And this goes hand in hand with this, that there's a lot of things that we do on a day-to-day basis that are achievements that we just kind of overlook. And literally one of those things can just be to get through the day. If we're having a rough day, like a really rough day, but we make it through the day, hey, that's an achievement. That's genuinely an achievement. Or if we talk to a friend, to me that's an achievement. For socializing and talking to people we care about, that's a huge achievement. And or again, like little things like for me with working out, that's an achievement. Going to, even though I love to work out, still actually going through and working out and pushing myself, that's an achievement. So there's like so many little things that we do that we don't give ourselves any credit for. And I think it's very important when you think it's very important to do self-reflecting. And I definitely don't do this as much as I should. It's something that I want to get better at and something that I will get better at. But I definitely at least self-reflect at the end of the month. But I want to start doing it maybe weekly. And just looking back on the week and just thinking, what's something good that I did? What's an achievement? And that's kind of what I did when February started. I'm like, okay, what happened in January? And I focused on the good things that happened. I also focused on the not good things. And not because I was focusing on them in a negative way. I was actually focusing on them because I wanted to see the lessons I learned from them. And I guess it comes back to self-reflection. Really, it comes back to self-reflection and acknowledging the things that you've done, and don't, not just brushing them off, realizing no, that you're doing the best that you can. And you don't have to go and win a marathon or win a Nobel Peace Prize to have achieved something, you know? And I think that's very important in your mindset on how you view things. You know, if you're starting a diet plan or trying to eat better and you have been eating better, that's a huge achievement. So it's, again, they don't have to always be these big things to accomplish. They can be just small day-to-day things that keep you going. And I think that kind of goes on to the setting realistic goals and tracking progress. I think that kind of spins off of that a little bit. The
Oh,
setting realist. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that when you don't get acknowledgments from others, sometimes we forget to acknowledge ourselves for our
Mhm.
achievements.
Mhm.
Things that we do go unnoticed sometimes, but we can still acknowledge ourselves for it.
And that's actually something, again, that Stoicism talks about, is doing, and not so much, again, not so much, I guess, about achievements per se, but just about kindness. And that acts of kindness, you shouldn't do them for recognition from others. You should do them for yourself, and it's the right thing to do. And there were some things that happened last week where, and I don't even want to say it because I don't want to be praised for it, but I was at a grocery store, and I was very, very nice and honest to someone, and and then after that happened, I never told my mom, I never told my fiance, I never told anyone. I just was like, that was really nice of me, and I moved on. Because I didn't want people to be like, wow, that was so nice. Like, that was so, like, no, like, that's not why I did it. I did it because it was the right thing to do. And again, I feel like that can be tied back into the achievements is don't set goals and don't set goals and like track your progress on Facebook, and see the comments come in like, oh yeah, go, like it's great to get that, but that shouldn't be your motivation for doing it. It should be from within, that you want to better yourself and you want to get to this place, whatever place that is, and you should be and do it for you. And the people that are there to cheer you on are the people that are there to cheer you on, and the ones that aren't are the ones that aren't. And that's really all it is to it. But I think that is very important that we're setting goals for ourselves and not to seem like it's the right thing to do for others.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. I hope that made sense.
It does.
I think, again, tracking progress goes back to the self-reflection, and when you're doing self-reflection, again, like I said, with what I did for the month of January, look back at all the things that you did achieve, but also look back at the things that you didn't, and don't have that negative outlook on it, but think about, what did I learn from it and how can I be better going forward at it? And that, again, that self-reflecting without the self-judgment is a huge part of the goals and the progress.
Okay, so let's move on to healthy relationships with others, how self-love influences relationships with others, nurturing healthy connections without sacrificing personal well-being.
We kind of already talked about the first bullet point quite a bit, about
Mhm.
how self-love influences relationships with others. Obviously, if you're not there for yourself and caring for yourself, you're not going to be able to be there for someone else and truly care for someone else to your full potential. That's just a fact. And the nurturing healthy connections without sacrificing personal well-being is a really great one. It's a really, really great one. Wow. Really great one. I just said great.
She's Daffy Duck here.
I know. That is a really great one, though. And the first thing that comes to mind, nurturing healthy connection without sacrificing personal well-being. And I don't even know if this is really the same topic, but this is the first thing that came to my mind, is any connection you make with someone, whether it's healthy, unhealthy, whatever kind of connection it is, it takes a toll on you. And obviously, if it's a good and healthy connection, then it's a positive toll, and you get good feedback and good reinforcement. If it's, a negative relationship, then that's going to take a negative toll on you. It's going to drain you. It's going to eat away at you a little bit. And a huge thing that I actually learned this way before a lot of this other stuff, was letting go of unhealthy connections, even if it meant someone that I really cared about and really liked. If they were toxic to me and affecting my own mental well-being, I had to let that person go, as much as it sucked, as much as I didn't want to, but I had to, or at least limit how much I talk to that person, at the very least. If I still, if want to talk to someone, maybe a once a week check-in or something. But really, just, again, monitoring your relationships and the connections you have with people, and, again, asking, is this relationship, is it one-sided? Is it really benefiting me? Am I getting, positive reinforcement out of the relationship? And when I say positive reinforcement, I don't mean like praise, but I mean,
Mhm.
are you getting what you put in? Like, are you getting positivity and like uplifting and support and love, that kind, the things that you should get from a good relationship. And I think that, again, that comes back to knowing your self-worth and understanding self-love, to know that if someone is draining you of that, then you may have to let go of some connections. And you don't always have to explain yourself, and you don't always have to feel like you owe that person something, but it's just a matter of, and again, and this is where some people can say, "Oh, well, then you're being selfish." It depends on the situation. It genuinely does. If let's say I'm going to preface this right now. If someone is going through a hard time mentally, physically, and you just don't want to deal with them because they're bringing you bad energy, then yes, that's selfish. Then yes, you have to, again, maybe limit how much you talk to them, but don't just be like, well, I can't, you're negative, I'm not going to talk to you. That's not how this works. Obviously, a relationship is going to have both positives and negatives, but I'm talking about someone who, let's say, is very self-centered, or someone who deep down you feel like does not have your best interest in heart, or that you really feel like you couldn't count on in an emergency situation, like people that that you're that you have relationships with that really aren't benefiting you. It is okay to let those go. Or people that are mean in any way, if they're if they bring you down, or deep.
Negative energy.
Yes, negative energy. I'm trying to say it without, again, if someone's struggling or someone's going through a rough time and they're venting to you, or if you're their person that they talk to about things, then that's different. I'm not talking about that, because obviously I'm a huge proponent for having a support system, having people that you can go and talk to, and vice versa, being that person that someone else can talk to. I am talking about solely something different. I hope that's coming across okay. I mean, yes, I mean negative energy in terms of, are they very self-centered? Do they not have your best interest? Are they just looking out for themselves? Do they take everything you say and turn it around on something in their life? Those kind of relationships. Then you have to find, even if you don't want to end it, you have to find it within you. Well, this person is draining me. This person is not beneficial to me. Maybe it's time to let that go. And that isn't being selfish.
I had to do that last year, and it was really hard.
Yeah, I've
It
had to
was
do that
really, really
before
hard.
too. I've had to do that before too, and it is very hard.
And
And
it's hard because you want to help, but some people don't want to get help. They just want to continuously go on the way they're going,
exactly,
and the things just happen over and over and over again. It's not like a one-time thing, like it's just you know, and nothing's being addressed with
exactly,
a professional, or,
exactly.
you know, and I had to let someone go last year, and they have messaged me recently, and I had to ignore the message.
Mhm.
I just had to ignore it, because
Yeah.
I knew that if I just said, you know, hello, or good to hear that you're doing well, then they were going to come back again, and then
Yeah.
they were going to
Yeah.
expect to, and I just like, no, I'm done. I have to be done.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
there was a sense of relief, but it still hurts. It's still
Mhm.
painful, but
Absolutely. And that's because you're a very kind and caring person. And yeah, it's, again,
now
also it's
now
very.
10 years ago, I would not have done that.
Mhm.
20 years ago, oh no, I would have held on to that friendship, no matter what,
Yeah.
right? Because Beth's going to help everybody, right?
Mhm.
But no.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. When someone comes to you, if they're going through a hard time, and you give them advice, you talk them through it, whatnot, and then they come to you again with the same thing, and again with the same thing, and again with the same thing, but they're not actively making changes in their life to better themselves. They're just coming with you with the intent of complaining to you. That is also different. And that's kind of more what I meant when I was talking about these relationships, these unhealthy relationships. And some people just like to complain.
Mhm.
Some people just like it's that whole misery loves company. Some people just like to put their stuff on someone else, but then not actually address any of their stuff. And that's not a way to go about it either. And there's actually a song that I just discovered the other day, but I'm totally in love with it. It's called Saving a Life by James Blunt. And it basically is exactly what we're talking about, how as much as you want to help someone, you as as much as you try to help them, you can't unless they choose to help themselves. And that's basically what that song is about. And one of the lines in the song goes, I'm not saving a soul, I'm just saving a life. Meaning I'm trying to save your, like, I can't save everything you're going through, but I can at least, throw you a lifeline or throw you something, but I can't get inside of you and be that motivation to get you, you know what I mean? It's a hard thing to explain, but
I'll have to listen to that song and then.
yeah, it's a really good song. It's a really good song. But unfortunately, and my mom has a situation with someone that's very similar to everything that we're talking about, where this person just doesn't want to help themselves, but they want to constantly bring my mom down. And she tries to help them, but it's like it doesn't actually penetrate. They don't actually change anything, and then they just come back the next day and say it all over again. And it's a very draining relationship that she's in.
Yeah,
And
I'm an empath, so it's I'm very vulnerable to that type of person. But
yeah,
like I said, the past 10 years have taught me a lot. And even though I'm an empath, I don't have to carry everyone's burden,
exactly.
for them.
And that's
And
what this whole journey with self-love will teach you. Exactly, that is, just because you're not carrying everyone's burden doesn't mean you're less empathetic
mhm.
at all.
You can reach out to Jaimi at one of her social media accounts, which are listed in today's show notes. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it helped you feel less alone. Please join me next Monday when Jaimi and I continue our conversation about self-love. I encourage you to share this podcast with others. Everyone, not just those with OCD, may find the topic of self-love useful in their lives. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast to tell your OCD story, please contact me at one of my social media accounts below. Until next Monday, remember that I am in your corner. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, while not curable, can be managed, and I am living proof of that. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time.